Well, thank you very much, Stuart. Thank you, David. Thank you, Michael. And most of all, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the enthusiastic welcome that you've given me. And thank you for the welcome that you've given my colleagues here at this expo and this conference earlier today. Yes, it's great to have Sophie Mirabella, the Shadow Minister for Industry, Senator Scott Ryan, the Parliamentary Secretary for Small Business, Craig Ondaatje, who is a member of the Victorian Coalition Government. Great to have you here, but yes, I think it's fabulous to have Alan Hay, the patron of the Confederation of Motoring Clubs, with us tonight, and also as a Liberal Senate candidate. And I just have to, yes, please give Alan the round of applause that he deserves. I think it's very important that we should have a representative of this industry in the Parliament, but to get the fourth candidate up, we have to get about 58% of the two-party preferred vote. So everyone in this room, you've got to work very hard to get Alan up at the election. Look, it is terrific to be here because by coming to a dinner like this, I understand the motor industry so much better, and by having conferences such as this, you help the Australian public to understand the motoring sector so much better. And what I want to assure you is that I understand that the motor industry in this country is not just Holden, Ford and Toyota. They are a very important part of the motor industry in this country, and I want them to continue to be a very important part of the motor industry in this country forever, because I want us to be a manufacturer of cars, not just a servicer and a user of cars in this country. But there is a very vibrant part of the motor industry in this country that has little, if anything, to do with Ford, Toyota and Holden. You are, if I may say so, the dynamic part of the motor industry in this country. You are the part of the motoring industry in this country that will flourish regardless of what happens to the three big integrated manufacturers, because one thing we can be sure of in this country is that as long as this country exists, we will use motor vehicles. And you are there to ensure that our motor vehicles are properly looked after. You manufacture, you export, you sell all the things that cars need once they leave the showroom. And as far as I'm concerned as a politician, the great thing about all of you in this room is that you are the part of the manufacturing industry, the motor manufacturing industry, that has never asked for a subsidy. The one part of the Australian motor industry which has never sought a subsidy. Now, can I tell you a secret? Everyone loves a secret. I want to let you in on something. My first car was an Austin 1800. It was one of those automatic Austin 1800s with the three on the column, on the dashboard gear shift. You had to be a rich masochist to drive an Austin 1800, and I was always going up to the parts shop to buy different bits for my Austin 1800. So I had a very early acquaintance with your industry. Over the years, I've had 2 Austin 1800s, I've had 2 Valiants, I've had lots of Falcons, I've had 1 Holden, I've had 3 Territories, as well as 2 Rovers, 1 Triumph and an elderly Mercedes of a generation and a vintage that the current Prime Minister wants to take off the roads immediately. I've also had 1 P76. So, believe me, I have had the gamut of the Australian automotive experience, and I have spent some of the best weekends of my life playing with plugs and points, cleaning carburettors, underneath a motor car, tightening things up and replacing things. So I have been quite dependent over the years on your sector, and I want it to continue to flourish. So what I want to do in the few minutes that you've kindly given me tonight is to talk briefly about motor manufacturing in this country. But then I want to talk about business generally in this country, because you are part of business generally, as well as being linked to motor manufacturing in this country. Yes, I want the motor industry in this country, every aspect of it, to flourish. I really do. And the best thing that we can do for the motor industry in this country is buy Australian-produced motor products from the Ford territory and the Commodore and the other products here, and all the products that you make and import and export. That's the best thing that we can do. But in order to keep doing that, we've got to have excellent product, and we've got to have economic circumstances which make excellent product easier to design and build and market. So that, in a nutshell, is what we've got to do. We've got to make it easier for excellent product to be designed, built and marketed. And I know some people think I sound a bit like a cracked record on this, but no government which is serious about building a strong economy, no government which is serious about enabling Australia to be a country that continues to make things, would have clobbered us with a carbon tax. Now, the carbon tax is not the only burden that manufacturers in this country face. Obviously, there are red tape burdens, there are workplace relations burdens, there is the fact that we are a relatively small market, there is the high dollar. But the challenge for government is not to make difficult situations worse, and that's what the current government has done with the carbon tax, which is estimated to add some $400 to the cost of any vehicle produced here in Australia. So we will get rid of the carbon tax. We will make a serious effort to reduce the red tape burden on businesses generally, but on your sector in particular. And we will try to ensure that the workplace relations environment, the pendulum in workplace relations, which went too far one way back in 2005 and 2006 and has gone too far the other way under the current government, comes back to the sensible centre. We want to make it easier for the businesses of Australia to do what they do best, to design, to innovate, to manufacture, to market, to invest, to employ and to sell. That's what we want to do. And yes, I accept that at least for the foreseeable future, there will be a role for government providing specific support to motor manufacturers in this country. I accept that. I fully accept that. But I want the industry to be clear too that it has a job to respond to the support of government by doing what it can to ensure that Australian-produced cars are more being marketed to the world and not simply being marketed here in Australia. As someone who has driven a territory for most of the last decade, I know what a great product that is. I know that is emblematic of the great product that people can make right across the motoring sector generally here in Australia. And the thing that breaks my heart is that this great Australian car is virtually only available here in this country. Why isn't the Territory sold in the United States? Why isn't it sold in the Middle East? Why isn't it sold in Europe? Why isn't it part of the offering wherever its manufacturer is selling, given the quality of that particular car? And the same goes for the other cars that are made in this country. So the challenge that Sophie and Scott and I throw out to the motor manufacturers of this country is, yes, we will support you, because the last thing we want to see is the end of motor manufacturing in this country. But please, do the right thing by your designers, your workers. Give them a fighting chance of a long-term future by making sure that the excellence of their product is more obvious to the wider world. The final point I want to make is that I understand, in a way that I'm not sure the current government always does, that in the end we cannot have the kind of society that we all want to live in without a strong economy to sustain it, and we cannot have a strong economy without profitable private businesses. It's all very well talking about the rights of workers, and we must respect the rights of workers. It's all very well talking about the importance of a clean environment, and obviously we only have one planet to live in. But in the end, if we don't have profitable private businesses, nothing else really works. I know that in the marrow of my bones. And because I know that it's so important that government work with the businesses of this country, not against them, you will never find a coalition government making major changes that we haven't talked to you about in advance. Any government that I lead will talk to the people affected by its decisions before they're made. We won't just argue about it afterwards. And you'll never find any government that I lead, any government that Sophie and Scott are significant parts of, you will never find that government dividing Australians on the basis of a false class war, a false gender war, or a false war about where you might have been born. We'll never do that. We'll never do that, because in the end, our country will flourish because we all advance together. We don't start naming people and saying they're not one of us for whatever reason. We are all Australians, we're all in this together. We have a great country and a great people, and that's why I think it's important that we have a better government that better reflects our strengths. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I respect and appreciate the work you do every day. I respect the fact that you are employing people. I respect the fact that you are investing good money in your businesses. And I respect the fact that every day you are serving tens of thousands of customers, and the fact that they keep coming back is a sign that they respect you and they appreciate what you do. I respect you, I appreciate what you do, and I look forward to coming back again. Thank you.